All right, our next adventure has to deal with comparing more rational numbers. So we're going to be doing a lot with fractions and a lot with decimals. And, and working with them a little bit and adding and subtracting and all that stuff. So on this particular video, what we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on just comparing fractions. And obviously, most of the time, we're going to be talking about fractions that do not have the same denominator, so it's harder to tell which one's larger than the other one. So let's just look at two methods that work for this, and then let's try to do a couple problems on Alex with this. All right, so I got this problem: 2/3. We want to know, is it less than 5/6, is it greater than 5/6, or is it equal to 5/6? So I think that the easiest way and the thing I really want to show you how to do it, because you never really know when you are going to have a calculator, so I think it's best to kind of find non-calculator ways to do this. So I am going to show you the calculator method in a minute, but I really would like it if you'd pay attention to this particular part, because I think this will help you the most. So if you want to check out 2/3 and 5/6, the thing you got to figure out is you got to say to yourself, okay, so I got 2/3 and I got 5/6. What is my common denominator between the two? All right, what's the lowest number that they will both go into that is either the same or larger than them? And if you look at it, 3 and 6, well, 3 goes into 6 and 6 goes into itself, so the largest number is 6, right? So the nice thing about that is you can just leave 5/6 as it is. All right, and then what you do is you say, okay, well, if I'm going from 2/3 to 6ths, what did I do to make 3 go to 6? Well, I multiplied it by 2, right? And so I'm going to have to do the same thing with the top. So 2 times 2 gives me 4. And then you wind up with 2/3 is now written as 4/6. And then you have 5/6. And then when you look at it this way, all you got to do is compare these top numbers. And you can clearly see that 4 is less than 5, which means that 4/6 is less than 5/6, and 4/6 and 2/3 are equivalent. So you would write that in up there. All right, now the other way to do this that works very well is simply to do division problems with the 2/3 and the 5/6 and convert them into decimals. So if you have 2/3 and we convert that into a decimal, I'm not going to do this on the calculator because I know what both of these are, but I think that if you want to check my work, you can. 2/3, if I put it in the calculator, gives me 0.666 repeating, which is, 0.6. And then 5/6, if I put it in, I believe gives me 0.83 repeating. All right, which another way of writing that is like that, with that bar over it. And so when you compare 0.6 and 0.83, you always start from the left, and well, if they're the same, then you go on to the next thing and you go until they're different, and then that tells you kind of which one's bigger than the other one. And obviously 5/6 is larger than 2/3 because 8 is bigger than 6. So those are kind of the two methods of how to do it. So let's do one more really quick before we check out the Alex problems. So we got -7/11 and -2/3. So again, let's find a common denominator. So if we got -7/11, we got -2/3. Doesn't kind of ignore the negatives. The common denominator between these is 33. All right, 11 times 3 gives me 33. That's always a really easy way to find a common denominator between two things, is just to multiply them together. A lot of times that won't necessarily be the lowest common denominator, but it will give you a starting point if you don't know where to start. All right, so what did I do to 11 to make it 33? Well, I multiplied it by 3, so we do the same thing to the top. -7 times 3 gives me -21. And then I multiplied this by 11, right? So 2 times 11 gives me -22. So I have -21 33rds and -22 33rds. So even though they're really close to each other, and this is where you have to be careful, these are negative. So remember, in negative, it's the opposite. So the number that's actually looks smaller is bigger. So it would be like this. So that would do it like that. And then if you wanted to put these in the calculator, you could do that. I am not going to do that right now, but the calculator method does work, but you should really work on this common denominator method because, like I said, a lot of times you won't have access to calculators. All right, let's go on Alex, look at a couple problems. So I'm going to see if I can pull up Notability with this. Oh yeah, see, it's being nice. All right, so there we go. I like it when things actually work out the way I want them to. So here it says rewrite 13/20ths and 17/25ths so they have a common denominator. Then use and then figure out how to order them. All right, so 13/20ths and 17/25ths. All right, so looking at that, I think the common denominator would be, well, if I multiply 20 and 25, you're going to get a really big number. So I guess you kind of think about it. Well, 20, the next multiple would be 40, then 60, then 80, and 25 doesn't go into any of those. But it does go into the next one, which is 100. All right? So they would both work over 100. So what do I have to do to 20 to make it go to 100? Well, you have to multiply it by 5, right? You have to go by 5. That's supposed to be a 5, I'm sorry. So 13 times 5, right? 13 times 5 is 65. Okay? And then this one, 25 to go to 100 is a multiplication by 4, right? 4. So then we would do 4 times 17, and I am going to actually do that one just to check, even though I could probably figure it out. 2, then you get 68. All right? So let's write those numbers in. So 13/25ths, and here is going to be 65 100ths. 17/25ths we said was 68 100ths. And then the sign we are going to use would have to be the, 65 100ths is less than 68 100ths. So it would be, so if we go in there, it would be less than, which I think I can use the ones on my keyboard for that. Let's see if it likes our answer. Excellent. All right, let's do one more. It'd be nice if they gave us a -1, but they didn't. All right, 9/10ths and 14/15ths. All right, so this one, it looks like, oh geez, that's finding common denominator might be tricky, but it's really not. So just think of your multiples of 10. So you got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Your multiples of 15 are 15, 30, 45, 60, right? So, right, I've said two numbers that they could both use as a common denominator just in that. So let's use 30 because that was the first one, and you always try to use the lowest one because it keeps your numbers manageable. So if we're going from 9/10ths to something 30ths, we're multiplying by 3. All right, so 9 times 3 is 27. So I have 27 30ths over there. And then to go from 14/15ths to 30ths, you're multiplying by 2. And 14 times 2 is 28. All right, so 9/10ths is 27 30ths. 14 is 28 30ths. And then because 28 is larger than 27, we would use 9/10ths is less than 14/15ths. And hopefully these are making a little bit of sense to you. Good luck with these, and the next lesson we're going to talk about how do we compare fractions and decimals.